I'm Rob Shields, and this is Peace Talks, the podcast that covers everything to do with competitive jigsaw puzzling. World-class puzzler Caryn Knill's usual approach to preparing for competitions was by doing puzzles. But at some point, she decided that there was probably a better way, so she turned to the tool that is apparently everywhere these days, AI. Caryn Knill, thank you for joining Peace Talks.
Thanks for having me.
Let's begin at the beginning. What's your earliest puzzle memory?
My family puzzles all the time. Growing up, we had puzzles in the house that we would do over and over again. I remember a green glitter puzzle that we had that I would sit in front of the window and line the light up with the glitter so that all the pieces were facing the right way and build the puzzle. All holidays, we did puzzles. It's just been a puzzle family. We still do puzzles together. And as a matter of fact, my parents are going with me and my family on the speed puzzling cruise into Alaska in July.
Who in your family is interested in puzzling? Was this something like your mom, your dad? Is this like just a family thing? Do they have a long history of this? Is this genetic?
Mom and dad have an interest in puzzles. Are they speed puzzlers? No. My daughter is getting into it, but that's a story for later. But we would do them at holidays. My aunt and uncle would come over for Thanksgiving. We would do puzzles. It was just a thing in our family that it was the way to just bring us together to have conversation and enjoy each other's company.
And so puzzles were a pervasive element throughout your life, would you say?
Absolutely. Yes.
So even through the formative teenage years, once you moved out of your parents' house?
Still had puzzles. Wasn't as, I don't know if obsessed is the right word, but actively interested as I am now in them. But it was a thing, all the way through growing up. Even after I left the house, I was doing puzzles. I think it calms your brain.
Were you a competitive person growing up?
Yes, I was involved in, I played volleyball and basketball, in high school and thought about playing in college, but went the academic route instead. I'm of the school of, Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last, right? So, so competition's kind of just the way of my life.
Did you have a competitive relationship to jigsaw puzzling before you knew there was formalized competitive jigsaw puzzling?
No, and I didn't even realize that I was fast until the first time I did a contest, and Jonathan had sent me a message because I think I came in second to Lauren
Jonathan
Kautz
Clough.
in this competition. I came in, yeah, I think it was second, and he's like, "Yeah, you're kinda good at this."
That must have been really affirming.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I was like, "Oh, wow, I might be." And I stumbled into that accidentally because I don't know if you were part of Jonathan Clough has a Facebook page that's like speed puzzling contests. And I think during COVID, he was doing these quarterly contests where you would post all your puzzles that you were working on with a little picture, and whoever posted the most puzzles would win prizes. And I did that, and I won a speed puzzling contest, which is how I got it the first contest in the first place. It was kind of
Oh, cool.
accidental.
Yeah. About when was it that you heard about competitive jigsaw puzzling?
Probably 2022, 20 into 2023. I had seen some of the videos online of national competitions, and I was a little bit intrigued by it, but never really thought anything of it for myself. But yeah, it's been a couple years.
When you do puzzles for not speed, when you had done puzzles sort of casually before, was speed ever something you were trying to do? Like, were you a person who sort of was timing their own puzzles anyway, or was it really a casual approach to puzzling? And if so, what was it like making that transition?
It was mostly casual. I think I frustrate my parents because I'm fast and they're not as fast. And so, that was the speed part, but it was mostly a casual speed. It was just a natural speed. And so going in from having a natural speed to trying to do competitive speed was a little bit challenging for me because what are the things you work on? Like, when you're in sports, you work on something and you're like, okay, so I need to change my hand angle when I'm hitting a volleyball or whatever. In puzzling, I wasn't really sure where to start working on that.
That suggests to me that you were at some point early on, you were interested in trying to optimize. Like, once the idea clicked for you, you were like, "Oh, okay, I'm familiar with how competitions work." All of these other things that you have experienced historically about how to compete against a thing sort of clicked into place?
Yes, and it's funny because, the my personal life, my job, we have a formula for how we do a job, and it is the amount of stuff you have and the distance you have to move it, and that's the basics behind it, right? So I thought about that in terms of puzzling. I'm like, "Okay, I have 500 pieces. If I can move them as little as possible, I will save myself some time. How do I move them as little as possible?" And so I started doing some things, like, just off the top of my head that I thought would help, but I mostly did it in terms of solving full puzzles,
Mhm.
because I don't know if I didn't have the discipline or the patience or whatever to just take a skill in puzzling and just drill it and not complete the whole puzzle.
It can be very dissatisfying. As a person with a long legacy of doing puzzles, I can imagine that when you're like, "Okay, well, I do a puzzle and then I complete a puzzle," and that's the joy, right? Is the getting to the end. And then if you're drilling, you're like, "Okay, well, so you're saying I'm just gonna do this unresolved part. I'm gonna put together like 50 pieces out of a 500-piece puzzle, and then I'm gonna stop?"
It was probably over a year that I was just puzzling full puzzles because I just didn't in my brain, I couldn't just take a chunk of a puzzle and do a chunk of a puzzle as a drill.
Your first competition puzzle is, I think, February 2023. And even before that, you had posted content on Facebook, I think, that was like, "I'm timing my puzzle." And so clearly you were engaged early, but you did something like 4 competitions in 2023. So it wasn't like you were doing a huge amount of puzzling. And then in 2024, it didn't really change, but something in 2025 was the turning point. Like it felt like you made some sort of New Year's resolution on 2025 because starting like on the 4th of January, you're doing 2 competitions in the same day. You do tens of competitions throughout that year. What was the thing that really turned you from a I'm going to do 1 or 2 of these cuz that's fun to being truly obsessed?
I think I started to enjoy doing Jonathan Clough's puzzles on speed puzzling, right? And so I started doing those more monthly, but then I also signed up for Orange County Speed Puzzling's 24-hour marathon. That
Mm.
was in February of that year, and I didn't know a single person in puzzling. And so I signed up as a solo person and joined an 8-person
Uh,
team to go out to LA and do this 24-hour marathon. So shout out to Super Serial, who was my OG speed puzzling team, and went out there, and it was the sole goal to just meet people and get into the community a little bit more. And I was sitting at my table with my super serial team, and here comes EB Karen walking around saying, "I'm looking for Karen with a C. Is there a Karen with a C at this table?" And anybody who knows EB knows that that's about right for how this works. And so I was like, "That's me." And she says, "Well, let's talk later." And so I got to know her, and she introduced me to a couple of others, Sarah Schuler, the Reuter sisters, all of them. And so it was neat to get to know them. And then I went to nationals, and it's just been fun. The community is fun. The energy is contagious, and so you just want to keep doing it and participating in as much as possible.
Yeah, it was funny because in advance of the 2025 US Nationals, your name was on my radar, and your name was on my radar for 2 reasons. One is that you were showing up in the statistics as a power puzzler, but 2 is because Evie had identified you and sort of brought you into the conversation. It was like, "We should talk about this Karen person."
EB definitely got me started, getting to know people and being a little bit more comfortable in the community.
So, leading up to the 2025 Nationals, now you've been sort of kicking around for a little while. Did you do any sort of prep for that?
I didn't really. My training regimen for that was do as many varied types of puzzles as possible because, everybody has a type of puzzle they like. I like colorful, bright, solid puzzles. I like landscapes, things like that. And so I'm like, well, let me do some more puzzles with maybe more trees or more flowers or more cat fur or whatever it is. Right. So that was really my training regimen going in there. And it was only going to nationals was only my second in-person competition ever.
Mhm. And was
So,
the first one the 24-hour competition?
the first
Or was
one,
it Florida?
I it was actually Georgia because Florida
Oh,
didn't
Georgia.
have an in-person competition at the time. There wasn't enough people,
Right.
and so a friend of mine and I drove up to Georgia, and we did the competition in Georgia, and so that was the very first one I had ever done in person that was a solo competition.
And how'd you do in that competition?
I came in first.
Okay, so gratifying. Uh, there's a lot of positive reinforcement going on here. So on the road to 2025 nationals, you did post a video of you doing a puzzle with a sock on one hand.
Oh.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, there I think it was the Speed Puzzle Pals on Instagram. They do these puzzle like, it would be a week, and you have a puzzle, and then there's a way that you have to do the puzzle, and there's a contest. And their contest was use your non-dominant hand. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna try this. I'll use my non-dominant hand. I must have tried this puzzle 10 times to use my non-dominant hand. And every single time my left hand would creep in, I'd start working the puzzle with both hands. I'm like, ah, crap, start over. So I gave up and I was like, I can't do this. So I just took a sock. I flipped over all the pieces into the border and then I took a sock and I put it on my left hand because I am left hand dominant. And I did the puzzle with a sock on with my right hand. So yeah, that's the story.
And we'll sort of come back to hand dominance, I think, in spades here in a little bit. So what were your thoughts going into your first, like, large competition?
Because I had competed in sports, I wasn't, like, super nervous, but it seemed like there were a lot of people around me who were really nervous, and then I thought to myself, "Well, gosh, should I be more nervous? Am I taking this seriously enough? What's going on?" And, you get those nerves, a little, obviously pre-competition nerves, but, I mean, there were so many people, and it was so much fun, and just the energy there was cool, and I got to meet, some other people that I hadn't met at the 24-hour marathon, and so, that was great.
Are you the kind of person who's in your head when you're, in a competition, or are you able to pretty much just focus on the task at hand?
Amazingly, I am more calm when I'm in a competition than I am when I'm not in the competition. Like I have all of those like, Apple Watches and all the things that like, you can test your stress level and pulse and all that. And I seem to be calmer when I'm doing the actual puzzle than any time before or after. So I'm not sure how that works.
Puzzling really is therapy for you. Like, it's really,
Yes.
like, your happy place, you're, like, in the zone, everything fades away.
Absolutely. I could sit and I could have puzzled the entire 24-hour marathon without taking a break and been completely content.
There was a moment when you said that you signed up for the 24-hour competition as a solo person. I was like, they have the option of doing 24 hours of one person?
Oh, that would be so amazing. I think there was a limit to like a minimum number of people that had to be on the team. I don't know for our safety. What I don't know, but yeah.
Exactly. So, being the kind of competitive person that we have now learned that you are, did you have any goals coming into your first US nationals?
I wanted to be top 50 when
Not first?
oh. I mean, I wasn't sure where I was gonna land, but I was pretty sure I wasn't gonna get first, but, it was top 50, and so I think I cannot remember, but I think it was 20th. So I was thrilled. I thought I exceeded my own expectations there.
Yeah, 20th, and the distance between 1st and 20th was like 7.5 minutes. It suggests a pretty competitive field right there.
Right? Well, and I'll tell you this, I was next to Gene Reuter, which was intimidating in and of itself because, I mean, it's Gene. But I forgot to turn on my music.
Mm.
And so I'm like 2 minutes in and I'm like, "Wait a minute, my music's not on." And then I'm like, "Do I take a second and turn my music on? How do I do this?" And then I go to my watch to turn it on and my watch doesn't have the little play button. And so I'm like, "Oh, Lord." So I probably wasted 30 seconds trying to figure out how to get my music on so I could get myself focused again. So there was a lesson I learned in my first competition. Make sure your music's set up before you start.
Since we're talking about music, what's usually on your playlist?
It can vary, but the one requirement is that it does not have words because I will sing along and I will dance distracting. So, I do have like 3 or 4 playlists that I run through. I'm not the type of person though that will, have the playlist in the same order. So
Mm.
I'll randomize the songs because to me, if I know that when this second song is on, I should be done building my border, let's say, and I'm not yet, I don't wanna spiral into a panic, and so I randomize my songs, and it just keeps me at a pace.
Do you ever spiral into a panic?
Um, yes. The prelim of nationals, I was in prelim group C. That was the one with the flower sale, with all the flowers. I mean, so
Mhm,
many flowers.
mhm.
And I opened it up and And honestly, I had a moment of panic. I was like, "This puzzle is hard. I am not sure I'm gonna be able to do this. What am I gonna do?" And then I took a deep breath and I was like, It's hard for everybody. Let's just like take a deep breath and do this." And so we got through it. It was great. But yeah, there are moments of
Okay, so it's not all zen once the puzzle
correct.
starts. Alright.
It's not all Zen, but I think I have a quicker time getting to Zen that because of my experience competing than some other people might.
So, coming out of US Nationals, sounds like you were more than satisfied with the performance, you got to meet a bunch of fun people. Was this part of the reason that you did so many competitions in 2025? Like, did you come out of there energized, or was this just part of the plan for 2025?
No, I came out energized and I just found competing fun. I like the idea of like, I don't know what this puzzle is going to be, and I'm going to open this bag, and here's this random thing I got to put together. And so I think it was just one of those things that it, it was exciting for me. So I did as many as possible.
Including going on a cruise.
I did. I went on the cruise last year to the Bahamas, the speed puzzling cruise. And that is where I met Kelly Burr, who ended up being my pairs partner for this year's nationals. We paired up together and did some of the competitions on the puzzle cruise.
Quick tangent, and then I want to come back to the cruise. So, one of the fun things about your arc is that in your very first competition, you beat Kelly Burr. Like, she was the one right behind you. In your second competition, she beat you. You were the one right behind her. And so, there's a nice sort of symmetry that you guys sort of were competing from the very out and then became puzzling partners farther down the line.
Yeah, we just have I think a similar puzzling style, same attitude towards things, but we like to work on completely different things in the puzzle. So we were complementary. So we thought, hey, let's try it at nationals and see how we do.
What do you like to work on versus what does she like to work on?
It's weird because I can't even describe it. Like, if somebody asks me, how do you do a puzzle? What do you decide what you're gonna work on first?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's whatever pops out," right? So sometimes I'll
Yeah.
see, like, a yellow and I'll pull it. And when she's looking at it, she sees the green and she pulls it, and it's not really a plan. We don't talk about it beforehand. We just pull different stuff. It was weird.
So it's just naturally,
Yeah.
complimentary. It's not like a texture or one of you likes details or anything like that. It's just like just you're naturally drawn to starting different starting conditions and
Yes, there was no, like, pre-planning of if you see anything that's heavily green, you're gonna go for it. If I see cats, I'm gonna go for that. No.
given the amount of thoughtfulness that you will later show in terms of intensity towards preparation, I'm sort of surprised to hear you say that there's not a lot of preparation between you and Kelly, for example, in your pairs. Not that there needs to be, like, it can be a whole other experience. Not everything needs to be the most like intense competition experience, but my feeling is like if one is competitive in an individual component intensely and really wants to do well, one might carry that over into other things. So tell me a little bit about how your individual relationship to competitive speed puzzling maybe differs between that and how you and Kelly approach things.
I like to have fun. I wanna have fun, right? But when you're dealing with things with a pair, I think it's important to be a little bit more flexible, or on a team, I think it's important to be flexible. And so, when Kelly and I were working together, we don't spend a lot of time together. She lives all the way in California, and I'm in Florida, and so we didn't get to, part of it is geography that we didn't get a
Mhm.
chance to prepare. But, I think it boils down to back where I was talking about how I don't really know how to prepare, right? I was just doing posts.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out some scientific method for learning how to do puzzles was challenging solo, so I wasn't really sure how to translate that even to teams, and so we would just go with our natural skill and see where it took us.
Tell me what goes on a puzzle cruise.
The normal things that would go on a cruise, excursions, cocktails, concerts, all of that. And then on the days that we were at sea, we would have these puzzle contests. And so there was like a main conference room that was open the entire time the cruise was open. They had random puzzles. You can go in and puzzle casually if you wanted to, which I mean is every puzzler's dream to just sit and puzzle casually. So we did that a little bit. And then there were 5 or 6 different competitions throughout those 2 days at sea that we did puzzles on.
Did you go on your own or did you bring other folks with you?
It was my whole family. We have this wall at my house. We call it the wish wall, and we take these index cards and we put I want to go on a Bohemian cruise. I want to see Taylor Swift in concert, whatever the kids want to do, all of that. And we put them up on the wall. And one of the things was, I want to go to the Bahamas. And so I was like, okay, let's go to the Bahamas. And so it happened to be a puzzle cruise to the Bahamas. We also have on our wish wall Alaska cruise, hence why we're going to go on Alaska. I'm just good
uh,
at combining these things together, efficiency.
yeah, no, I love that. I love that you're like, you know what? If we can tie it into puzzles, you have a better chance of that thing happening.
Yes.
So, did you meet a lot of folks on that puzzle cruise? And I guess even stepping back a little farther from there, you're going again. So, would
Yes.
recommend.
Would recommend. It was totally fun, especially if you like to go on cruises. It's just an added extra thing to do while you're at sea that, it doesn't prevent I mean, my family didn't really I won't say they didn't notice that I wasn't around all the time, but, like, we went on excursions together and we did all the family things, but then I was able to do some of those puzzle things as well.
Sometime not too far after that, you start hinting at becoming part of a different team. So, tell me about how the whimsy pieces came together from your perspective.
Well, I think Mari can attest to this. Mari Black likes to come up with random crazy ideas and then present said random crazy ideas to the people who she has the ideas about. And so it was probably 6 weeks before Worlds. I had no intention of going because I didn't really know enough people to create a team, and I wasn't one of those people who was gonna just go out and look, for people. And she's like, "Hey, so I have this idea me, Sammy Brownlow, and Hannah Sigler are looking for a fourth person to go to Spain with us. Do you want to go?" And I was like, well, let me check my schedule. And like 15 minutes later, I already had a plane ticket bought and I was ready to go to Spain. So I think she figured out that her crazy ideas land well with me. And so that is where that started. And we went to Spain together.
Knowing a little bit about Mari, knowing a little bit about you, I can imagine that there was some preparation involved in here, but also you've told the story now about your working relationship with Kelly, which suggests that there are multiple modes here. So, where did Whimsy Pieces fall into all of this?
Mari is a preparer. Mari is a planner, which is great because Mari, please tell me what you need me to do to prepare to make the team the best it can be. And I am happy to oblige. So, we get a PowerPoint presentation with slides and terminology and
That's amazing.
we had some Teams calls and things like that where we would look at puzzles virtually and say, "Okay, if we have to pick 2, which 2 would we pick and what our
Mhm,
strategies were for
mhm.
that?" But honestly, we hadn't done our first puzzle together until I arrived in Spain, which was a day after they arrived in Spain. So, opening ceremonies of Worlds, and then that afternoon, we did our first puzzle together.
And how did it go?
Um It was a little clunky. It was a little clunky. I think I was still intimidated because Mari's very fast. She's great at this. She knows a lot of I don't know how to describe it, but like the specifics around how to do things, right? And so I was like, "Oh gosh, I need to just listen to her and whatever she says, and we need to roll with that." And after that first one, Jim Eakins says, just be you. Just puzzle. Like you got it Mari called you because you know how to puzzle. So like just be you. So second puzzle, I was a little more me and it gelled a little better. Third puzzle gelled a little better. And so we started the more puzzles we did, the more confidence I gained with the group and the better we started doing.
Did Jim mention that because you were obviously struggling? That's an interesting insight for somebody to pick up.
Yeah, I think so because they like to talk and I'm not a huge talker when I puzzle, like, in terms of valuable information for the puzzle. I talk to myself, but that's completely not valuable to anybody else but me. So, uh, they're talking and I'm getting stressed out because I'm hearing them talk and I'm like, "Okay, what am I supposed to be doing?" And it just got into my head. And so when Jim was just like, "Just listen to them talk and still just be you, do your own thing," kinda calmed me down a little bit and made me realize, like, yeah, they're all talking. You'll get used to that talking. Just do your thing and talk back when you can. It was an interesting first team puzzle.
And I hear that from time to time. Occasionally, you'll find the folks who just come together and they click, but, usually there's a certain amount of sort of working through things, communication, different styles, of
Right.
puzzling that need to happen in the first few efforts. So, was the was the shift that you did primarily just a mental perspective shift, or, like, were you actually doing things differently?
It was a mental perspective shift, and I think identifying what things I am good at within the team, helps too. Like, I when I on that team, my role is basically, Hannah Sigler and I, we were, like, sorting and feeding pieces because I can see slight gradients of color, I can see
Mm.
patterns very well, and so once I found what my team superpower was, it made it a lot easier for us to assimilate together.
Were those perspectives things that you had already sort of been working through in your head, or were these things that you discovered as you had to sort of position yourself within the team?
They were things that I discovered there because when you're doing most of my puzzle competitions have been solo. I haven't
Yeah.
done a lot with competitive teams. It was more like fun teams, fun pairs. And so you just do whatever you do and it doesn't matter. And when I'm doing it solo, I have to do all of the things. So I don't really look at like what am I great at? What am I not so
Mhm,
good at?
mhm.
And so that it helped me individually too because it helped me see the things that I was strong in that I could use to my advantage in solo puzzling, and then the things that I need to work on.
Did you do training in advance, like, specifically for yourself, of Worlds?
Same as nationals. I had no idea. I still had no idea at this point, right? Like I'm just trying to think of ideas of how I could be better. So it was mostly just doing puzzles.
And you did
The
some devastatingly hard puzzles.
That is what I was about to say is that in September, right before we left, me and Sammy Brownlow and Mari Black, and maybe Hannah was on that call with us too. We had gotten all of those hard there was a hard set of puzzles. It was like the cave where you're looking through the underwater cave with the light up there,
The
and there
Eye
was
of the Glacier.
Green Mountains, and then
Mhm.
there was that peacock one. So we bought all these puzzles and we're like, let's just do these hard ones because when we do these hard ones, when we get to Worlds, everything's going to be easy. And then before you know it, you've got times of like an hour and 40 minutes. And then you're getting demoralized. And you're like, oh man, this was probably not the best idea.
Did they actually result in any beneficial sides, or were they just, like, slogs?
They were slogs, but I think they helped because I was like, nothing is going to be as hard as this. I mean, so before we went to work, like we did those, and then I went and I did a couple faster ones just to remember what it was like to be good at puzzling again, and then we went to Worlds and did our thing.
Now, you are not shy about, or you don't get, put off by hard puzzles. Like, you have done a thousand-piece clear puzzle,
I have.
and as near as I can tell, you did it because you were curious about, I mean, this is ostensibly what you posted about it anyway. You were curious about what happens if you remove, like, the image and other, everything else that could tell you how to put together a puzzle, and just ended
Yes.
up with clear puzzles, which I think is a signifier of the kind of curiosity it feels like you bring to figuring out how puzzling works.
Yeah. Well, and there was a time in that where I was like, "Do if I look at the picture, which of a clear puzzle, what the heck is the picture, right? But it's like the piece shapes on a page. Is that cheating or not cheating? So
Mhm.
then I had that mental thing of do I go and look at the piece shapes or not, or do I just do the whole puzzle? So yeah, there was a lot of analysis to that clear puzzle that was put together.
Right, and did you learn a bunch from it? Like, it certainly seems like you would learn a lot about the shape with respect to the overall puzzle.
Yes, and orientation. So a piece with three tabs and one innie, whatever anybody wants to call that, a three prong. They could be tall and skinny, or they can be short and wide. And so then you look at it and you're like, okay, so it's not just a three prong. There's a three prong skinny and a three prong fat. So then it started getting me to think about more than just the generic shape of the piece.
Mhm.
There's a little bit more to it. There's another dimension to it. So that helped when I was doing that clear puzzle.
And you've done, at least one 32,000 piece puzzle?
I have. I have done um the Disney 40,000 piece puzzle. I did that one during COVID, the one that has all of the different panels of Dumbo and Snow White
Mhm.
and all of that. I did the 18,000 piece Paris puzzle. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but that's one of my absolute favorite puzzles in the entire world. And I started the 32,000 piece Keith Haring puzzle. And I'm gonna tell you a story that makes me cry, but my dog ate some pieces of one of the panels of that puzzle, and not just some, like 20. So now
Mm.
I have this 32,000 Keith Haring puzzle. That was my dream unicorn puzzle, and I have a panel that has 20 pieces that have gotten eaten by my dog. So I haven't had the heart to go back to that one yet. It's still sitting on my, dining room table with another piece of paneling over top of it so that I could do other puzzles on top of it.
That Keith Haring puzzle is a lot of just blocks of the same color. So it is sort of like doing a clear puzzle in that there's not a lot of anchors there. So I guess all of this is to say, like, you're not shy when it comes to hard puzzling tasks. So when you dig into like the power of nature, which is the green island puzzle, when you look at the eye of the glacier, which is the sort of underwater but like looking through ice, when you look at the peacock puzzle, like you say they're demoralizing, but these are in your wheelhouse in terms of like you're self-flagellating enough for these to be like not so bad.
Not so bad, and actually, it's funny because, going back to, what we're gonna talk about later, which is the AI stuff, I was starting to, normalize some of the times of things and my performance on different difficulty levels of puzzles as it relates to the rest of the group on
Mhm.
myspeedpuzzling.com, and, the hard puzzles are where I perform the best. Not the very hard, which is probably like some of those Peacock or whatever, but like maybe one step down from that are where I tend to perform the best against the field,
Mm.
um, on that specific type of puzzle, which is interesting.
Yeah, do you have an example of sort of what's in the sweet spot in terms of that kind of puzzle?
Let's see what I can find
Yeah,
here.
I know I didn't tell you to
Yeah,
be
that's
prepped
a
for that.
Yeah, no, I'm not really sure. I would say maybe, like you see behind me, I have like 1,000 puzzles, but, maybe like there was a butterfly one that it was a butterfly and it was red flowers. It was like a yellow butterfly and it was red flowers all around it. That's
Oh,
probably
I'm
the next
familiar.
level below impossible. Um, so probably ones like that is my sweet spot.
Got it.
The fast ones are, I mean, I can be fast, but the fast ones, people's hands maybe just move faster than mine, their brain moves faster than mine, I'm not sure, but I think that's why I like the challenge puzzles, on speedpuzzling.com. I do the challenge series because they're just a little bit more difficult, and I feel like I perform better on those for some reason.
Interesting. And so it sounds like you're not really sure why, but some part of that complexity really does like speak to you more than it does other people.
Yeah, and I think it's like my brain processing doesn't go down as much on those hard ones as maybe other people getting intimidated by it or something like that, and so I'm still at a high processing of the puzzle pieces, and so I'm moving faster than everybody else, but I'm still moving slow.
Worlds 2025. You'd been doing some devastatingly hard puzzles, working with a team. Were you in a more competitive headspace or knowing the caliber of competition, maybe a more lenient headspace? What were you thinking going into that?
I think my goal was, well, I wanted to win a trophy of some form or another. I didn't care what. I assumed that if we were going to win, it was going to be in our team. I felt like they were pretty strong. My individual goal was top 50 again, because at nationals it was top 50 and I got 20th. So I was like, okay, so maybe I've improved a little bit. We'll try top 50 at Worlds.
And Worlds, you did really well. Like you,
I think it was what, 18?
yeah, 18th.
Yeah, I think it was 18. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was
which
proud of
sort of
that.
blows top 50 out of the water.
I know.
Anything in particular that made you excel so much at that particular competition individually?
It's funny that we're talking about this because I think this was considered more of an above average difficulty puzzle for some people, just the style of it or whatever it was.
Remind us which puzzle we're talking about.
It was like a cartoon picture, and it had all of these people in a world, and it was like the puzzling community, I think was the name of it or something. And
Yep.
it was very, like paintbrushy, blocky. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but it something clicked with that puzzle for me. And I think everybody's average times were a little bit higher than like a normal average puzzle, and it just clicked for me. It was just the right puzzle for me.
How was the rest of Worlds? So you paired with Sammy Brownlow.
I did. We had a rough first round, but again, we hadn't practiced much together, before that, so I think we just like, it was the puzzle was a slog, and we had a rough first round. We chatted with each other after that and ended up killing it. We had gone from 8 we were table 80 something in the pairs final, and we had moved up. I don't even remember, where did we finish? 20?
21st.
21st. So, I think that was redemption for us. But how was Worlds? Hot.
Key takeaway.
Key takeaway, hot.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And your team finished 5th?
Our team finished 5th. I was very, very proud of that.
I was gonna say, which, amongst some extraordinarily good teams is an extraordinarily good placement.
Yes, and, I think it was a factor of the 2 puzzles hit the team style. I love, love landscapes. So when that aurora borealis, with the mountain, came up, that puzzle, I was like, "We got this. We got this. We're gonna do this." That first puzzle was a little bit busy for me, but Mari and Sammy were like, "We got this. Let's do it." And so I think it was very complimentary that Hannah and I kind of excelled on the second
Mm.
puzzle, and Mari and Sammy had excelled on the first puzzle.
What was the other puzzle?
It is Ladybug Lane was the name
Oh,
of the
yeah.
puzzle, and it was just a lot of flowers and randomly, like, crooked buildings.
Worlds was challenging in a lot of ways, puzzles aside. Did you come away wanting to do it again?
I would probably do it again, but I don't it I have a job and children, and so taking time away for a really long time is hard, right? And so I would do it again if there was an opportunity to do it in a different geographic location, that if I'm gonna travel and I'm gonna take a week, that I could kind of do a touristy thing somewhere else. So I think, it would be fun to do again, but probably not in Valladolid.
Skipping forward to US 2026, you've had the opportunity of now puzzling in earnest for a year, like competitively in earnest for a year. Different expectations coming in this time?
I wanted to do better than I had done the previous year. So I had gotten 20th in 2025. I wanted to do better than 20th. I mean, looking at the field, you have a couple of people that have come in out of nowhere over the past year that are so fast that they're just blowing everybody out of the water. And so I felt like if I could just improve enough to maintain or better my position, then it was a success for me.
And were you doing any preparation for that? Like, we talked about like your preparation for prior things was like, well, I'm going to do more
Right.
puzzles. But I assume that at some point, if I keep asking you this question, I'll get a different answer.
Yeah,
Is
well, you're
this
gonna get a different answer on this one.
great?
It was the normal preparation of what am I gonna do? Let's do a bunch of puzzles. And then at the beginning of March, I was like, there's gotta be a better way to do this. And as part of my role at my job in my career, I have a team that does stuff with AI and innovation. And so I was like, maybe there's a way that I could use AI to help me isolate things that I need to do for training or somehow get better and force me to follow some sort of training regimen. So that's where my AI journey started.
Okay, and it was in March, which was also when the US Nationals was, so it's not like you'd been doing this for a long period of time.
Right. So, a caveat here for anybody listening, I am not a techie person. I am a person who was using AI to create funny pictures of myself, just like all the other people who don't know how to use AI. So, when I started this journey, I knew absolutely nothing about it, what its capability was, how I could do. I just wanted to experiment with it and see how it would go. So, there's my caveat.
All right. So let's sort of put a bow on U.S. nationals. How was your U.S. nationals experience this year?
It was great. Our team was on the podium
The
again.
whimsy
I
pieces.
think
Yep.
yes, Whimsy Pieces. I was 18th, I believe, in solos, which would beat my top 20 that I was looking for. So I was happy
Goal
with
check.
that. Hit goal check, yes, and overall, we had a great time. You know, some of those other side quests that I'm gonna call them, that, the fun activities with the puzzles that we were
Oh
doing
yeah.
with the Cobble Hill team, we had a blast doing some of those, and so it was just overall a great experience this year. It was, because I knew so many more people, it was more fun and, just more relaxing and just enjoyable.
So you're not going to buck the trend of people who said that they had an amazing time at that competition.
Not bucking the trend, it was amazing.
It looked like you did some sort of run on a puzzle called Floral Garden, a 300 piece puzzle.
Oh, yes.
You did that like 9 times over the course of a few days, or what's
I
going on
did
there?
do it 9 times. So I live in Florida, and I'm part of the Florida speed puzzling, group on Facebook, Instagram, and, they do a quarterly contest where they pick a 300-piece puzzle, and you speed run it as many times you possibly can, try to get the fastest, time you can, and then, they award, prizes to the winners at our state competition, which is, in this case, October of this year. So, this 300 floral garden puzzle I picked up, and I was like, "Well, let's see how it goes," right? And so the first time was somewhere probably in the 30-minute range, and I did it 8, 9 times and got it down to, I think it was 14 minutes and 12 seconds, 13 seconds. And, and so right now I'm at the top of the leaderboard for the Florida speed puzzle, but I'm hoping that we got some people who are gonna do it another couple dozen times and take me out.
Did you bring any of your new developing techniques to this, or was this just a like, let's do it over and over again sort of?
This was, I was actually experimenting with different strategies on this, right? And the doing it over and over again, which I really should be better at doing at the 500 level as well, speed running. But it was, do I do the border first? Do I start with the hard part? Do I start in the middle? Do I work out of the corners? Do I sort first and then put it together? So all of those things went into all of those different activities. And it was interesting because my fastest one, I sorted a good amount before I started building, which is not a
Mhm.
strategy that I use on a 500-piece puzzle, but, it's something that I may have to play with on a speed run in 500 world.
This is one of the great things about speedrunning is that it pushes you to try new things. It pushes you to explore areas. Like if you're really trying to get the best speed possible, probably you're going to have to try something that you haven't tried before. And probably like, and I love that they did it as a 300 because it makes it super accessible. Like even a person like myself would feel comfortable sort of putting some time into that. And that means that a person like yourself could probably iterate pretty quickly. Like, here's a thing, let's try that thing. Well, I'm 20, 25 minutes invested in it. It's fine to give that a shot.
Right, right. And so, just doing that, I think too, like you were saying, the speed of it helps you figure out how to be more efficient. And so then you start using both your hands and you're like, wow, my right hand works as well as my left hand if I'd actually use them together. And so then you start recognizing those things that you're doing after you do a puzzle 8, 10, 12, 15 times that you can hopefully translate to even new puzzles that you do.
Before we get into the AI side of things, we've talked a little bit about you intersecting with Jim Eakins and having getting a little bit of advice out of that. So Jim and Mari both are folks who do coaching. And so as potential contrast to sort of the AI side of things, I would love to hear, and I don't know honestly how much coaching that you've had from humans. Tell me a little bit about your human coaching experience, what that's like.
A lot of my human coaching experience has come from the team environment with the whimsy pieces, because we have the benefit of having Jim be our eye in the sky. And so, even before nationals, we had all gone to Chicago, got an Airbnb, the four of us. Jim stayed home. He had other things to do. And we turned on a Zoom call and we pointed it at our puzzles. And he could log on whenever he wanted and he could watch us and he could give us feedback. And so it's neat because, like, we're just doing our thing and he notices all of these minute details. He even notices when we start to have more fun while we're puzzling faster. And so he'd be like, just have
Oh, that's
fun. Like, you
cool.
guys, when you're having fun, you're going faster. And when you're trudging, you're just going. So there were just some interesting things that he would notice as we were going about doing our things. And those things, I mean, although they're team hints, they could be translated into individual as well.
And is those interactions sort of the sum total of your kind of human coaching?
Yes, yes. I don't even know why, because I told you I have no idea how to direct myself. I mean, I did meet with Murray and Jim one time and have them just look at what I was doing and see if they could help me. And basically they're like, "You're fast. You just gotta like be more efficient with what you're doing." Which is absolutely true. I do. So
Uh, Although there's an extent to which, and I love both Mari and Jim, but I could have given you that advice. You know what? You're
no, it was
fast. You
very
should do
yeah.
better.
Very helpful. I mean, I go and I dump the pieces out of the box the first time I meet with them, and I just, like, fan them out across the table, and they're like, "Whoa, stop." I'm like, "Alright, cool. We've been doing this for 30 seconds. Great."
The ROI is already there. It's a high
Right.
value interaction. All right,
Yeah.
so let's dig into the meat of this. So you decided it in advance of the US Nationals this year that
Mhm.
AI could become a tool for you. Or at least it was time to try other things, and AI could be one of those things. So give me as much as you can about sort of what you were thinking you could get out of using AI as a sort of self-professed like not AI nerd. Like obviously you're not going to go in and have it generate images that like funny images to support your I mean maybe you are.
I mean,
So
I could, but no.
yeah. What were you thinking you might get out of this?
So the first thing that I thought of was, can I record myself in regular time from an overhead camera doing the puzzle, and it can tell me things that I'm doing that are not efficient? And so that was where I started. I was like, let's see. Then so I go and I record. And at the time I have Copilot, and then, I was dabbling with Claude and, all of the other Gemini and all that stuff. And so I had to find something that I could upload that size of file to, that it would analyze that type of file. So I went through, and this is probably mid-March at the point where I started doing this. And nationals was what, like, third week of March, March 25th or something.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get a lot into it, before that, but I was like, let's see what I can do. And so I uploaded the first thing. I asked it for some form of an analysis. It spit out this stuff, and it was garbage. It was it was garbage. And I was like, great. Okay. Well, this is going to be a really quick experiment. And so then I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is where we learn how to get better at using AI, right? Because all I did was I said, "Hey, I am a competitive speed puzzler. I want to be more efficient. Here's my video. Tell me what I'm doing wrong." And that's not enough in order for for it to tell me anything. And so then I was like, "Stop, don't lie to me. Stop lying." And so you'll find in the communications that I have with my chatbots that I talk to it like it's a real person, and so sometimes I get a little snarky with it. And so I was like, "No, stop this. This is not true. I need you to give me data. Like, point to time stamps on the video and tell me what I'm doing." And so then it got a little bit more factual. And it was like, then it tells me, "You're only using one hand." And I was like, "Okay, great. Analyze this video again and tell me on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being I use it 100% of the time and 1 being 20% of the time, where am I?" And it's like, "You're a 2 out of 5." Great. Okay, I might be able to do something with this. And so then now the wheels started turning, and that's where, we got to nationals. I got about that far before we got to nationals, and that's when you and I started having that conversation, and I was like, "Well, I'm kind of dabbling with it." That was dabbling.
For folks who might not know, Copilot is from Microsoft, if I remember correctly. There's a lot of Copilot branded
Yes.
things. Claude
Correct.
is from a company called Anthropic. Gemini is Google's AI, and then a lot of people are familiar with OpenAI's ChatGPT. So those were the sort of things that you were exploring with.
Yes.
And the way that these things work is usually there's just like a chat. If you've never used it, just like you're having a chat with anybody else, all of these interfaces are you can type in some stuff that you want and it will basically have a conversation with you. Now it's consumed all of known knowledge of humanity, plus all of the internet. So those two things sort of balance themselves out into something actually sort of useful, but they also can take in other sources of data. So you could upload files like video files, and they're not guaranteed to tell you true facts. They're generally just trying to predict how to put a satisfactory sentence together. So they're not as reliant on facts as you might hope. All of that being said, one of your first experiences, one of my first experiences was basically like coming up to these chatbots and saying, "Hey, what could you do?" And they're like, "Well, let me tell you all the things that I can do." You wanna tell me a little bit about your experience with that?
Yes. Yeah, what is it that you can do? How big of a file can I upload in here, and what can you do with that file? And so then, I think this was, may have been Gemini that was telling me this, or ChatGPT, I can't remember. And it's like, "Oh, great, I can annotate your entire video, and I can give you a summary of your results." And so, so for the listeners, I text Rob and I say, "Rob, this is gonna be so cool.
So
We're gonna
cool.
get an annotated video and TBD." And I go and I run it, and what do I get? Garbage. And so I'm like, "Well, wait a minute."
It was worse than garbage.
Yeah.
It was like several of them were like, "Well, I can't do that." Like, you give them the video and they're like, "No."
No. And then I'm like, "But you told me you can do that." And it says, "I'm really sorry. I was mistaken. I can't do that, but here's what I can do." And it's like, I can pretend like I watched your video and I could give you facts of what you want to hear. But I can't actually do any of the things I just told you I was going to do. I mean, is that about right?
Yeah, yeah, that's my experience as well, is that I was like, "Okay, well, I want to improve my times," and so this is what I started with is like, as a bottom end puzzler, I would like to shave off some time by the time we get to next year's nationals so that I'm sort of, mid bottom instead of bottom bottom, and tell me how to go about that, and it's like, "Well, if you've got video of your stuff, we can absolutely help you with that video," and then so I went and took some video of me competing in something, and not a complete video because that would take forever, and said, "Here's the video," and it was like, "Well, I can't do anything with that." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what can you do?" It's like, "Well, if you were to describe the video, if you were to tell me about everything that is going on, if you were to take a continuous set of screenshots, then I could tell you something." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, now this has become actual work, like the investment
Right.
side of
Now
it."
I'm doing the whole thing, and
That's
all
right.
you're doing is repeating back to me. Yes.
Yeah, one of the things that I did enjoy as well is that you tried to upload a video to Claude after having this conversation, and Claude was like, "No." Everything else was like, "Oh, okay, eventually I can actually look at this video." But Claude was basically like, "No, you should go talk to Gemini." Like, it was just
Yes.
it was like, I'm not even gonna try, despite the fact that I told you I could do that, I'm not even gonna try. You should try this other AI.
Yes, just go over to Gemini and ask him because he will be able to answer all of your questions regarding this video. And so then I started messing with Gemini.
Mhm.
So I uploaded videos, everything was okay, and then I was like, "Look, you're telling me what's wrong with my videos, you're giving me timestamps, this is all great, but now like how do I fix it? How do I get better? Give me some ideas of drills." And so again, with any sort of AI, you're you have to take what they say with a grain of salt and understand that if they don't have an idea, if this bot doesn't have an idea what it's going to tell you, it's going to make something up. And so as I was getting the feedback, one of the things was, "Well, you seem to move pieces around a lot when you're building your border. So why don't you just line up all of the edges as you're sorting and then build your border that way?" I'm like, "Completely inefficient. This isn't gonna work." Great. So, but other drills were coming up and they seemed to be helpful. It would be, a drill, for example, of you draw an imaginary line between your pieces and the puzzle, and your dominant hand cannot cross over that line to gather pieces. So you have to use your non-dominant hand to pass the pieces over to your dominant hand to put in the puzzle. So it was kind of doing that. And so I was like, "Okay, now we're getting somewhere." I wasn't thinking about this for myself, but you came up with this idea. Even if you made it up out of thin air, it's still a good idea. So great, we got something to work with. So that's where we went next, and I had a list of different drills that I could work on, and so I spent a couple weeks doing that.
How much effort are you putting in to getting these results?
I would say, I would put some effort into getting the results on the weekends, and then during the week, I'd spend 15, 20 minutes a night just doing some of these drills. Sometimes I'd spend more, sometimes less, but I learned in doing this that if you start a chat in any of these, AI bots, and when you continue to prompt this bot, it goes back and it reads through all of the prompts before it, and then it gives you results. So then if you start prompting it over and over and over and over again in this same chat, it's going to refer back to all of the garbage that it had before. So at some point, you just have to start over because the garbage that you're getting is just turning into different garbage and it's not useful at all. So
Mhm.
I started be like getting a little wiser and starting new chats with more information than I had before, or I would summarize the previous chat. I would adjust it to the things that I wanted this new chat to understand. I'd upload it and I'd say, here are the things that we talked about before that I want you to remember. And then also I would like to know XYZ, whatever it is that I wanted to learn, like, drills or anything like that. That got me further than I was doing before.
My experience with people in AI is that they often early on come to it with an idea that they're gonna ask a question and get an answer that's gonna be valuable for them. My experience with AI, and I've been using AI in at work for a couple of years now, is that it is like having the most brilliant, idiotic intern at your disposal. Which is to say, it's going to come up with a lot of great things, but it's not necessarily like not everything is going to be great, and it's going to miss some entirely obvious things. So, like your point is that it wasn't that you sat down, you typed a thing, you got an answer. It wasn't that you sat down, you gave it a video, you got an answer. It was yet that you it was a journey, right? It was like you sat down, you learned some things, you learned about what it could do, you distilled the things that were important, you carried those over. Like so now you've got a process for working. Like there's a degree to which you get out of these kinds of tools the effort you put into them, which is it's not quite the promise, right? Like the promise is that you'll get immediate inspiration right away. But what you're suggesting is like that there's a lot of learning about how to relate, how to optimize around this capability, this technology before you could get to the things that really were helpful.
100%. Yes. And I started to realize this weakness that I had with figuring out how to properly prompt or have a garbage detector per se in myself to know when it was lying to me or whatever. And I started asking some coworkers and friends for some tips of how to do things. And so then they started getting inspired. And they're like, well, why don't you have it um take on the persona of like a neuroscientist
Mhm.
and tell you what is the best way to learn how to have, they call it bilateral symmetry, I guess, with both of your hands moving at about the same frequency. And so then I started plugging in things like that. And I said, okay, if you're a neuroscientist, what would be the best way to do this? Is the best way to put a sock over my left hand and do a puzzle with my right hand? And the answer is no, because now you're just switching one hand for the other and you're
Oh,
only using one
interesting.
hand at a time. And so then I was like, well, how about if I tried this? And it would say, yes, that's a good strategy for how to do this. And then I said, well, how about if you give me some skill practice that is not related to puzzles that would enhance my ability to use both my hands? And that's where it got kind of fun.
A while back, Josh Trogger pinged me and he was like, I have this question, which is basically like people train for jigsaw puzzling, sort of like you were saying earlier, by doing jigsaw puzzles. Elite athletes don't just train their specific skills, they train adjacent things. They like you will see like if you ever watch Formula 1 drivers, often they're doing sort of like hand speed tests where they're trying to hit buttons with the when a light flashes as fast as possible. They're not doing that in the car, but they're trying to get their reflexes going. And so his question was like, when in puzzling do we feel like we're going to make the transition into doing these sort of adjacent skills as a means of getting to building up our actual puzzling capabilities. And so you had that experience. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so when I started getting into, like, I don't wanna just do half of a puzzle and have that unsatisfying ending. I
Right.
need something that will hone my skills without that. It would tell me, "Okay, great. How about, do you have tennis balls?" "Yeah, I have tennis balls." "I want you to juggle for 10 minutes a day. Get 3 tennis balls and just juggle." Now, I know how to juggle, so I was like, "Okay, let's mess with this." And so I would go, and for 10 minutes, I would juggle, and it started out where I would, be able to juggle like 20 times, let's just say, before I dropped all the balls and they go bouncing everywhere. Then I would get up to like 100. I'm like, "Okay." And then it would be to where I wasn't really thinking about it, and I was just juggling for almost the whole 10 minutes. Right after that, if I would go and do a puzzle, I notice my right hand is working more in that puzzle than it would have had I not done that activity beforehand. So I'm like, okay, I feel like we're on to something, right? And so I still will juggle. If I'm sitting at the house watching TV, I'll just juggle and it'll, help my right hand. So that was an activity that I thought was really useful, that helped my right hand move, that I would have never ever thought of on my own.
Now, does your family just absorb this sort of in stride? You know, mom's walking through and juggling. Yeah, that's the thing she does.
Yes, my kids are like, "So did Chat GPT tell you to do this?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, it did." So they don't care. And honestly, I'd asked them for help because my kids are 11 and 13. And so I'm like, well, maybe they know more about technology than me because I'm just this old lady who doesn't know how to use AI. And they were not very helpful with it either. And so they were learning along with me. So
Oh.
sometimes the kids would be around and they'd be like, "Well, ask it if it can do this. Ask it if it can do that." So, yeah. Um, but then after that, I was like, "Okay, well, what else can it tell me to do that has nothing to do with puzzling?" And it's
Yeah.
like, "Do you have a Meta Quest, the VR headset?" I was
Mhm.
like, "As a matter of fact, I do. What are you gonna ask me to do?" There's games like Beat Saber and Synth Rider and these games where you're using both hands and you're, like, banging drums, or you're, like, popping, balls in the air that are coming at you in the beat of a song. And so I started doing that too. And the cool thing about it is it's a little bit of exercise and it's getting my hands working at the same time. So I added that to the repertoire of things that I would do outside of puzzling to help.
Now, you said you noticed a difference in the juggling side of things. Did you notice a difference with the VR side of things as well?
Not as much, but I haven't spent as much time doing it, as I would with just juggling, sitting, because with juggling, I could sit in front of the TV or I could have a conversation with a family member and still just be doing it. With the VR headset, you gotta be, like, fully dedicated. You're, like, immersed in the thing, and so I haven't spent as much time. I think if I did, it would absolutely be helpful, and it's something that I hope to have some time to work on in the coming months before our next competition.
Do you have any idea whether these benefits are longer term? And by longer term, I mean, like, the sort of anecdote that you gave was you were juggling and then you noticed that if you immediately did a puzzle like that, that was an improvement. Does that improvement stick around for a while? Are you feeling like the juggling is really building this sort of left right hand independence that you're trying to build? Or is it like really like you can get a boost, but it has to be sort of time sensitive to when you start to puzzle?
I asked myself that same question because the feeling in my head was, yeah, it was working. I could feel it different when I was doing the puzzle, but I wanted some data behind it. And so then I was using Claude to do some more stuff for me. And I was having it, there's two things that happened. The first one is I had it build an app for me. And it was a 20-minute process, honestly.
Mhm.
And I explained what I wanted, and, I was able to get the data from my speedpuzzling.com, which, Jan, thank you for unlocking my account. I appreciate you.
Well, you're gonna have to tell us that story too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but,
All right.
so I was getting data from my speedpuzzling.com, and it's great data. There's so much data there, but when you look at, say, the progression chart of month by month and your average time, something like September of 2025 peaked up because I spent the whole month doing those ridiculously hard puzzles that we had talked about earlier. And
Right.
so the chart wasn't really normalized based on the difficulty level of the puzzle. And so I had Claude create a new chart for me with a formula that kind of normalized the difficulty level of the puzzle based on the difficulty level that's in my speed puzzling. And it would tell me if my normalized time was going up or down. And so when I look at the chart that it created for me, it would go straight across for a year until March. And then between March and June, I have cut 2.5 minutes off my normalized time.
Wow.
So there's data there that supports that the things that we're doing and working on are really working, which is kind of cool.
Did you have to tell it the level of difficulty of each puzzle?
I did. And so this is where we got into the little bit of a issue with my speedpuzzling.com. So when I created the app, it allows you to go out onto the web and grab data. And so on my speedpuzzling.com, there's this thing called a token. Now I learned all of this as I was going, right? And this token is personalized to the person who requests it, and it only gives their data back. So to get this token, I have to agree to the terms of service and acceptable use for the website. I tell Claude, hey, Claude, here's what I need you to do. Here are the terms of acceptable use and fair play. Do this for the app. So it pulled data, but it didn't pull the difficulty level of the puzzles. And I was like, I would love the difficulty of the level of the puzzles to pull too. And it's like, great, I'll do that for you. Yeah, well, what it did violated the terms of use of myspeedpuzzling.com because it would go to every page and it would scrape the data off of every page, meaning it would just go to the page and it would, like, the computer would read it, pull it, go to the next page. Computer would read it, pull it, etc. And so it wasn't pulling the data. So I go manually to the page and it says, you are permanently banned. What is going on? Permanently banned. Great. So let me look into this. So so I go to Claude and I'm like, I just got banned. And this is literally the conversation that I'm having with Claude at this time. Claude, I just got banned. What did you do? It said that I violated the terms. And so, if any of you have used AI bots before, as you ask it to do something, it goes through this progression of thoughts. And it shows it as it's going through the progression of thoughts, and then it minimizes it, and then it gives you like the standard answer that you want to read, right? Well, I look at the progression of thoughts after I say, "You got me banned. What did you do?" And all I see from Claude is, "Oh no, this is very serious." Yes, it's serious. You just banned me from my favorite site. What are you doing? So,
And these are Claude's super secret thoughts. Like,
yeah, so
this is
Claude's
not
super
what it's
secret was telling me,
it's not
"Oh,
what it's
no,
trying
this
to
is."
tell you.
So Jan Mikesh from mysweetpuzzling.com, I emailed him and I was like, my bad. I literally know enough to be dangerous about AI, as evidenced by the fact that I
Literally.
just got myself banned from your site. So if you don't mind reinstating me, I pinky promise I will never do this again. And I scolded Claude. I again uploaded the terms of service and acceptable use and told Claude, you have to follow this. And he's like, I promise I will follow this going forward. I put it in my files, and so we were now safe and able to continue. But that was fun. But that's how I got all that data, was just from pulling it from that site. But the difficulty data, I ended up going through manually. I did the manual scraping of the page, and I would go to every page, I'd put the difficulty in, and I entered it into
Mm.
my, because we wanted to make sure we respected the terms of use of the site.
I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but maybe this is a question I should ask Jan, but, like, do you know how the difficulty level is arrived at?
On the speedpuzzling.com website, there's all the formulas of how they come up with difficulties and point values and things like that for
Mhm,
scoring of
mhm,
people.
mhm.
But what it seems like is it takes everybody's body of work and it aggregates it together and it looks to see where most people perform in the middle and then where their times are way higher or way lower than what their average is. And so it will say this puzzle is about, 22% more difficult than average. And
Mhm.
so you start to get an idea. And one of the other cool things that it has on it is when you're a member of a site, you can get predictions of what your time can be. And so it's like
Oh,
based on the hundreds of puzzles you've done before, if you do this puzzle right now, we predict it's going to take you 37 minutes and 14 seconds. It's crazy, and for a while, when I first started doing this, it was super accurate. Like, I was getting within 10 seconds of what their predictions were.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's pretty neat. That so they're, I'm assuming, using some form of AI or, analytics to do that, but that was really neat.
And you said that for a while that was the case. Is it no longer the case because you're exceeding expectations, or, like, why does it not work anymore?
The past, I'd say, month, I have been putting my times in, and they've been, a minute to 2 minutes faster for the most part than what the predictions have been. And I am not sure if that is just myself improving or how, what the algorithm is, but the data seems to tell me that it's because my normalized time is improving. And so that will catch up eventually, as it starts to get more data.
I mean, obviously, it's gotta be you, right? Like, given the options that it's you or something else, it's obviously that you're doing better. If you were doing
Of
worse, it
course.
would be the system's fault, but that's not what's going on
Of
here.
course.
You sent me you've sent me a lot of things, which is amazing. I appreciate you being is such an active participant in this. I've learned so much just by watching you and being inspired by. So I would actually go a different direction real quick. Being inspired by the things that you've said. Once you were like really excited about doing some live feedback from the
Yeah.
AI. You were like, I'm gonna go do this later on today," and I'm like, "I'm gonna go do that right now." And so I got really excited. I set up my camera. I set up, I believe it was Gemini, and I was like, "Gemini, tell me in real time how I'm doing. Give me feedback." And then later on, you did a similar thing.
Yes.
Tell me about how your experience was, and then we can compare and contrast.
So, I did the same thing as you, right? I'm like, great, I'm gonna set up my camera, I'm gonna turn it on. I'm telling it that it's gonna just watch me and give me feedback if maybe I'm not using my one hand enough, that it would be like, don't forget to use your hand, something, anything, just tell me something. And I turn it on and it doesn't tell me anything except for keep going. And then I'm like, okay, let's start this over. I think we're going to iteration number 2. So then I turn it on and I'm like, okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me when 5 minutes is up and I'm going to look at what I'm doing. I want you to tell me when 10 minutes is up. Go. So it goes. And literally like 45 seconds later, it's like, okay, 5 minutes is up. I'm like, Claude, it's been 45 seconds. What are you doing? So that was a failed experiment as well. And then I was like, okay, so go back to just telling me, just being my cheerleader. But I don't talk to it constantly as I'm puzzling because I'm puzzling.
Mhm.
It shuts itself off and goes to sleep after 2 minutes. So now it's like completely pointless. So the experiment on my side failed dramatically with trying to get a live bot to do anything for me. How'd it go for you?
It was a different sort of failure mode. It was telling me things that were not particularly helpful. So one of the challenges that I've had, and I'm curious as to whether this is something that you've experienced as well, is that I did not give it a lot of context of like, I'm going to be doing this puzzle. Here's sort of what I'm looking to improve upon. Like, see what you can do. And it was giving me relatively generic advice the entire time. And I'm like, well, okay, like I see what you're saying, but that doesn't really apply here. And as you said, LLMs, large language models, which these things are all built on, notoriously don't really have a concept of time. I am forever having at work Claude tell me that it is the same day as a month from now. It's like, well, this thing is happening right now. I'm like, no, that's a month from now.
No.
It doesn't have any idea what day it is. It has even trouble remembering that this date is this day of the week. So having some idea of how much time has passed doesn't surprise me that it gets confused, but, the general experience that I got from the live version of that was that it was lagging substantially behind where I was, which is saying something, and also it was, not giving me particularly valuable advice for the kinds of things that I was doing. Like, it was pretty generic advice, and I guess this is one of the things that, I don't know if you have any perspective on this, but I know that in some of the transcripts that you sent me, some of the AI agents were like, "Well, top puzzlers will approach things like this." And I'm like, "Well, how does it know that?" Because there's probably not a big corpus of knowledge around top puzzlers that is in its data. It can only know what is in the data. So I'm not sure how much it knows how much it knows about puzzling, speed puzzling, and strategies for optimization. in particular, which is why I felt like I was getting pretty generic feedback when I was using it.
I agree, and, we know top puzzlers, right? So, like, you can tell when it's not being truthful and it's telling you what you wanna hear. Some of what I would try to do is ask it for sources, like, "Hey, you're telling
Mm.
me top speed puzzlers do this. Where are you getting your data?" And there are some sources with certain speed puzzlers who have blogs or things like that, but it's very one-off, niche people or websites that were giving that data. So asking for a background or resources or references is helpful too.
One of the things you sent me was that you had video of you solving the Rolling Hills puzzle from the
Yeah.
US, championships, which was great because your notes were like, "I haven't really improved on this, so it's a good control," right? It's a good thing that I can use to compare because I've done this a number of times. My times are all pretty consistent, so I don't have that learning effect that you get when you do a puzzle over and over again where you just kind of get better after doing it. And then you sought advice from all the different AIs based on this video, it seemed like. You were like, "Okay, I'm gonna give everything this video," which I thought was amazing as a trial just to see where things were going. So I assume that was the original intent.
That was in the very beginning, and I
Mhm.
did learn some strengths and weaknesses of each of the systems and how many of them are gonna give me real data versus BS data based on the information that I was providing into it. But I also noticed, in that situation, Copilot, I think it was, did a really good job of putting it all together into a format that was useful and made sense and gave me, some drills and things to do, so that was pretty cool. But then because it was so early on and there wasn't a lot of good feedback in those, I didn't do much with the specifics, but the aggregate thing that Copilot came up with was really cool.
That one was basically it did a not minute by minute, but something like that, time chunk breakdown of like, here's what I observed in this time frame, here's what I observed in this time frame, here's what and I read through it and I'm like, this actually seems like useful information. So, like, did you do anything in particular to get useful information out of that, or am I overreading what was
It,
valuable in that?
it part of it was useful, but when you go back, so what you have to do then is you look at it, you're like, wow, it's giving me really specific information. This is cool. But then I go back to the actual time stamps where it's telling me that that thing happened and that thing never happened. So although it looked really cool, it was beautiful and the data analysis was fantastic, it wasn't true data.
You know,
And
it's
I
funny
could
because
tell just by going back.
I went back and I actually watched your video because you provided that as well. And after having read through all of these and reading all the other stuff that you'd sent along, and I'm like, this video seems different than I expected based on the transcripts that I saw from from the AIs.
Yes. And so, yeah, those experiments weren't very good, and I think, I was, expecting that it would do more with less inputs than it actually can do, right? The capability of it can do. And I think after, a couple of weeks of messing with it, I think we got to the point now where we're like, okay, it's not really gonna do that type of thing that we want it to do, but maybe it can analyze data for me, which is how we moved forward into like the app creation,
Mm.
or the where we annotated the hands. So I had a coworker of mine is really good at AI, and it's very similar to what Jacob, Knights of the Round Puzzle on Instagram is
Jacob
starting to
Palava?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you see all of those posts, they're fantastic. But my
Well,
coworker was doing
tell
this.
people what that is.
Okay, what he's doing is he is taking AI and he is marking every single piece of a 500 piece puzzle, and there's live data on a video about around how many pieces are remaining, how many pieces have been flipped. It's just incredible amounts of data based on just annotating these pieces. And so I'm not sure where he's going to go with that, but I am super curious and I am here for it because it's really cool. But my coworker was doing something similar with me. He says, "Give me a video." So I gave him that same Rolling Hills video that you and I were talking about. And he's like, "Well, I was able to do some annotations on this." And this was like almost the exact same week that Jacob was starting to put those things out on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was, he was annotating my hands. And so if you, the way the video looks is it's an overhead camera and you see my hands on the overhead camera, and he has drawn out all of my fingers and bones in my hand with computerized lines. And it's a 20-second chunk, but he is tracking my hand movement to see whether my hand movement dips at certain times of the puzzle or what percentage my hand is moving. And that is actual analytical data that we could use instead of the system just making something up. And so that was pretty cool and helpful. And it's, going from, I use my right hand 40% of the time to now it's closer to 60% of the time. So improvement, not at 80 or 100 yet, but you can see it there with actual data. So that was a really cool discovery that we made too.
Yeah, and you got some cool reports out of that, if I remember correctly, graphs. Was this
Yeah.
was the intent of this to sort of feed the beast in terms of taking that data and making it available into the AI, or was this really its own separate exploration in terms of understanding how your hands work?
This was I do understand that I only use one hand primarily, and so I was like, what's the way that I could help myself for that specific skill? And so that's when I had approached my coworker and I was like, you know about AI? Talk to me about what we can do that would help me. And that's when he built this. App, a local app that I have on my computer, and you open it up and you can upload any video. It takes about 15 minutes to go through and annotate your hands. And then it spits out a report and it's specific to how much hand movement there is for both of my hands.
And you find it's pretty accurate representation of the stuff that goes on?
Absolutely. It's and when you watch the video back, it tracks your hands perfectly the whole time. These some of the things obviously knowing more about puzzles than the person who is creating this app for me. There's when you do the flip, you're using both your hands. Everybody, I would assume, uses both their hands for that part. And so I want to exclude that, right? So
Mm,
as we
mhm.
do iterations of the app, exclude the flipping and then just do the assembly part with both hands because it skews the results of how much you're using both hands. So there's things like that that we would get it, that I'll get into with him as we, go deeper into this. But for a first blush at an app, it was incredible. And the report that was generated was insane.
Any willingness to share when you have something that you feel comfortable with in terms of, like, the application? Like, you're building a tool.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to share this once we can get something that works, or if there's anybody out there who wants to help get it to a point where it could be impactful or effective for other puzzlers. I'd love to work together to do something because between this and what Jacob's working on and what Jan and team at myspeedpuzzling.com have put together, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that I think that could be really beneficial to new speed puzzlers or expert speed puzzlers.
Yeah, I think this is a surprisingly fertile time for tools all of a sudden related to competitive jigsaw puzzling. Like, if competitive jigsaw puzzling had really caught fire a decade prior, we'd be in a sort of different place. And I think that where we are going to be in 3 to 5 years is potentially going to be, I mean, as with many things in the world, much more advanced than we might have ever predicted once once this originally got started. We may be able to hit my 10-year prediction of people doing a 500-piece novel puzzling competition in under, I can't remember what I said, 20 minutes, under 18 minutes is probably what I said, because all these things are coming online. The thing that has been missing from competitive jigsaw puzzling, because it's so new, is the kind of analytical approaches to improvement, just because we didn't know. We're building a body of knowledge here. And now at the same time, all of these tools are coming online that are allowing us to just take that knowledge and supercharge it. So I'm really excited about
Yeah.
where this can take us.
And the skill, like the data that we're getting from all these sources is really inspiring. Like you look at that and you're like, "Ooh, what if we took that and we changed it around so now we can get more normalized data about our performance?" Because in puzzling, puzzles are such different difficulty levels, different brain, all of these things are so different that it's really hard for you to mark improvement when that when the group of puzzles that you're working on is so varied. And so being able to pinpoint how we can show people their improvement is going to be really important for people to get better at.
So before we transition out of this into the speed round, I would love to get sort of your summary thoughts about all of this. Like, how should people be thinking about the world of the AI tools available to them, and how can they best get something out of that that will help them?
I think the more specific that you can be with your AI chatbot, the better if you're going to get into it. I think it's really important to take what is said there with a grain of salt, knowing that you probably know as much or more than this chatbot. But get creative. Like the sky is the limit. I had no idea when I started this in March thinking I was just going to upload a video that I would be able to create myself an app on my local computer that gives me daily drills to do and tracks my performance in a normalized way. I mean, I like I said, I'm a newbie AI person and I was able to do that in just a span of a couple months. And so I think just be creative, don't be afraid to play with it, but understand, take whatever it gives you with a grain of salt.
Let's move on to the speed round. The speed round
Woo!
is
Okay.
where I ask you a quick question looking for a quick answer. Here we go. Gradients, patterns, or fur?
Gradients 100%.
Illustration or photo?
Ooh, photo,
Busy or landscape?
landscape,
Round or square?
square. I'm a traditionalist.
Wood or cardboard?
Cardboard for speed, wood for pleasure.
Oh, all right. Individuals, pairs, or teams?
Teams.
Ribbon cut or random cut?
Oh, absolutely ribbon cut.
No question. 300, 500, or 1,000?
Um, 500 for speed, 1,000 for pleasure.
Do you have a current favorite brand?
I love, Art and Fable and those ones that have those velvety touch pieces, Ordinary Habit, those types are fantastic. I absolutely love those.
Do you have a favorite puzzle?
My favorite puzzle ever is, the 18,000 Evenings in Paris Ravensburger puzzle that I had done back in the day. The image is gorgeous, and it was just a joy to put together.
Have you done it more than once?
I did it once, and I kept it for a couple years, and then I gave it to somebody who would love it as much as I did.
Where can people get more of you?
Um, I am not an I'm not a super active Instagram user, but I am on Instagram. It is Jigsaws in Jax, Jax on Instagram.
Do you want to explain that at all?
Well, I live in Jacksonville, Florida, so Jax
Ah,
is the shortcut for Jacksonville. So Jigsaws in Jax, that's me.
Caryn Knill, thank you so much for joining me on Peace Talks.
Rob, thanks. It's been fun.
Thanks for listening to Peace Talks. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at peace_talks, and you can send email to peacetalkscast@gmail.com.